afternoon. Thanks for joining us right now on 12 News at 5. The countdown is almost over for the Winter Games in South Korea. Athletes from all across the world are setting their sights on the same goal, and that is to bring home a gold for their country.
That's right. The excitement has definitely been building, especially ahead of Friday's opening ceremony. 12 News is your official Olympic station, and our own Paule Gerke is live in South Korea, bringing us all the action.
But before the games begin, he's already been taking in the sights and sounds. Paul, how are you?
I'm doing all right, guys. How are you today? It's a little chillier here than it is out there.
Yeah, what is it there? Is it about single digits?
Yeah, single digits. I can see my breath. That's all that really matters, guys. The game's actually getting started in just a few hours. It's technically Thursday morning here in Pyeongchang while it's still Wednesday back there in Phoenix. We're excited for the games to begin, but it's not all fun and games out here. In fact, our journey started on a pretty somber tone. A trip to the DMZ, the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. It's a 4-kilometer stretch of land that is one of the most dangerous places on the country. We were escorted there on the DMZ by an American Army officer, a lieutenant rather, Kevin Richardson. And at some point during the trip, he stopped us all, the media group that were here, and he asked us, "Are you scared yet?" We all laughed nervously. His reply, "Well, you should be." A trip to the demilitarized zone begins at Camp Boniface, named after Army officer Arthur Boniface, killed nearby in a gruesome axe attack by North Koreans in 1976.
Prior to the Korean War,
we are briefed on the gruesome and unnerving history of this place, then begin our journey north, down Old Highway 1. The DMZ is 241 kilometers long, just 4 kilometers wide, still wide enough to hide the 2 million landmines buried here. We reach the Freedom House, where no photography is permitted, exiting to the north and entering the JSA, or Joint Security Area. The South Korean military here stand half hidden behind these still neutral buildings, a precaution in case the North opens fire. This is the only portion of the DMZ in which the North and South Koreans stare face to face, reflected in the motto here, "We are truly in front of them all."
There's a yellow line in the road right here that we are not allowed to cross, and so we won't do that. We are being told that we are under direct surveillance by North Korea at all times. We've been told to stop photography. I've got to go.
We then cross that yellow line, entering the Military Armistice Commission, or MAC building. The North and South still hold talks in this rudimentary shack. This table right here is actually the demarcation line in between South Korea, that direction, which we can't point our cameras at, and North Korea. Where I'm standing right here on this floor tile, I am in North Korea right now. We continue down Highway 1, arriving at Command Post 3, often called the loneliest outpost in the world. An elevated position looking down upon the Bridge of No Return, where the North and South exchanged prisoners at the end of the Korean War.
now going into the tree line here, you will notice another KPA guard post. At this point, you are under machine gun fire and very close observation by North Korea. Once again, there will be absolutely zero pointing, waving, or gesturing verbally or non-verbally towards North Korea.
Right now, we are under 360-degree surveillance by North Korea. We have machine guns pointed at us right now. Over there in the distance is Gijeondong, better known as Propaganda Village. That flagpole you see is 160 meters tall, and they broadcast propaganda between 8 and 24 hours a day, trying to lure defectors into North Korea. But the village itself is mostly uninhabited. The windows and doors of those buildings are painted on.
We exit the way we came, past the bridge, still littered with landmines, and returning to Camp Boniface, a relative safe haven in a region ravaged by the horrors of war. When we were on the DMZ, we could actually hear the music being broadcast from the propaganda village, and the lieutenant that was there with us said that 8 o'clock at night, the North Koreans cranked the volume on those loudspeakers so loudly that 2.4 kilometers away at Camp Boniface, it sounds like there's a radio outside the closed door of the bedrooms there in the barracks. And they said in return, they broadcast K-pop music back across the border just to mess with the North Koreans. There are some brave souls up there in the DMZ, guys.
Hey, Paul, you know, it all looks very intimidating, and we know you're a pretty calm and collected guy. Were you at any point fearful?
It's funny, it was a very long journey. It was about a 15-hour trip to and from by the time it was all said and done. And a lot of it was very boring. And you start to look at your watch and you're like, Are we ever going to get somewhere exciting? And then once you cross that line, once we got to Camp Boniface, it gets real in a hurry. The lieutenant that was there with us kind of snickered under his breath a few times, because when he commands your attention and says, listen, there are guns pointed at you, you are being watched, you stand up straight. Yes, sir. And suddenly you start to pay attention to everything around you. It's one of those things where you forget something that happens to you in a day-to-day life situation, but I remember every second of that trip vividly because you're paying 100% attention, because you know if you take one step forward or make one big gesture, that could be it for you. Definitely a scary place, guys.
Yeah, what a unique opportunity, and I'm so happy you were able to share with our viewers, Paul. Thanks.
All right, Paul. Well, tonight, Paul is also hosting a Facebook Live where he will answer your questions about the DMZ. That starts at 7 o'clock tonight, so make sure to follow him on his Facebook. You can also find more exclusive updates on his Twitter page.